All right. Let's start off with adoption of the agenda or approval of the agenda.
I'll move that.
All second. All in favor? Let's start
All right.
Aye.
Thank you kindly. Okay, next is adoption of the minutes from February 3rd. Everybody get a chance to look at those?
I'll move adoption.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, all, I'm here now.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
All right, on to public comments. Anybody here besides us?
Steph, anybody here?
I'll take that as a no. All right, moving right along then. Business arising from the minutes. Business case presentation to council for budget consideration. Councillor Judy Getty. So we have our recommendation.
There were some revisions that Gail had sent earlier, and Steph, did you get a chance to make those changes?
You're muted, Steph. We have an email that
I did, and I
Steph,
sent them around, but I think we're Jillian would like to do me to share screen, so I'll do that right now.
yeah, we have some changes in yellow on this form. So that's what we want to go over as a group before we make our motion.
All right, there's something interesting going on here. How are we doing? Can we see that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you want to drive locally, Jillian?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. I think the highlighting of this section in here is wondering if this section needs to be within a whereas within the recommendation, given that it is later on in the report, and it's slightly confusing because from my understanding of it, this $3,000 is for the marketing specialist and not towards the positions that we're asking for approval of in this report.
Right. So the yellow highlight is to remove it?
Yeah.
That's that's the question. Should we remove all of that section?
Not all of that, just that sentence, this that I've highlighted.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't think we need to confuse anything.
Should we do a quick straw poll on that, Fraser?
Sure. Are we talking about the stuff in brackets or are we talking everything that's highlighted right now?
Everything that's highlighted. The stuff in brackets just explains the rationale behind wanting to delete all that's in yellow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay to keep things clear. The clearer, the better.
That
Because
works for me.
you're asking for the booking coordinator and the program production coordinator, and this is not that. But it is mentioned later in the body of the report if you want to highlight other contributions the Hearth is making.
Right. Okay. As long as
Okay.
there's credit for that.
There's credit later in the report.
Yeah. And this
Okay,
is
so I got a
part of the-
thumbs up from Judy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fraser, I'm taking over knowing that.
No, that's fine.
Anybody else? Anybody
Any
object?
concerns, comments? Yeah.
No, it's good for me. I think it makes sense.
Gail?
Gail, how about you from the Heart's perspective?
I think it makes sense as long as it's listed. It was nice that it was prominent, but I do think it confuses the question of the whereas.
Okay, and we got a nod from Mimi.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. And then this one was that's process person. I think having two different recommendations would get in front of the possibility of having to sever on table were someone to have an objection to one or the other of them, which they probably won't, but That okay to have two different ones?
Yeah, I think it's two different funding mechanisms, right? And I think that the potential, in terms of looking at both sides and the potential negatives, it would be the extra $8,000 for community grants and whether or not we should be giving any amount of money extra to the hearth and the whether or not the recreation department can absorb the work without having an extra half-time position. So those are the strong negatives. And I think that, this whole position paper is to try to explain and argue against those and why it's so important. I think that's the spreadsheet in terms of all of the work that needs to be done in addition to existing work. So it is two totally separate.
Okay. You're okay with two separate?
Yeah, I think so.
Anybody against two separate? Sorry, Fraser.
Nope, that works for me.
It seems
Thank you,
smart.
Steph. This is very much your world, so I appreciate you
Okay.
declining.
So I'm gonna make that a second one. Whoa, okay. And then, so then this was Jamie's edit. There's some content changes in there. So if Judy and Gail can sort of speak to the content change. This first yellow bit is what was in the report.
Mm-hmm.
And this second in the square brackets is what Jamie is asked to change.
So it's small gallery space, not to be confused with the main large wall.
I think that piece is clear. I think then when it becomes to like installation, contract, sales, and takedown. So what has been deleted there is determining either permanent or rotating exhibits has been deleted. Boring and commissions has been deleted. Insurance has been deleted. Setup has been deleted. Advertising and on-site educational signage has been deleted.
So without Jamie here, I'm not really sure if this is an important distinction in what the workload is or what the reasoning is here. If it's just different language that feels is more suitable, not really sure.
My understanding is its workload to do the long hallway is larger than the hearth space. What she does, she's 75 to 80% of her 70% of her job. This space would even be larger than that. So it's a gigantic increase in workload. I think that was the logic behind limiting it to the smaller gallery space near the theater.
Okay. So I think that's the understanding we're all working with right now, that the curation of the hearth at this time is proposed to be on that gallery wall, not on the corridor.
Yeah, I think
down
that
the
part's
corridors.
clear.
So that seems to be the main issue then, is that right? Just being specific about where?
Yes, I think that was
Okay.
the main thing. It was just that it was funny to see that large space appear in the wording, and I think she just wanted it pulled back to what we had all understood was what we had agreed on most recently. Yeah.
But that is the gallery. So I think maybe it's not people understanding the spaces in the room as opposed in the building rather. So when we say gallery space, it is just that small section. No, but then obviously
I actually
it's
don't
not
know more
clear.
than anyone else.
Yeah. So
because I think she was referring to what Steph corrected.
I think the gallery space, like this clarification here with the gallery space is totally fine. It's really more clear. I think that's fine. I'm just asking if all of these jobs, where are those going? Like who's determining the permanent or rotating exhibits? Who's doing all of these things that are not on this second blue list?
Sorry, Judy, you have a hand up?
Yeah.
Judy.
I'm a
Council.
um I think that if we can label the hallway and the gallery that and that's clear, then this is fine the way that it's worded. I also think that if there's some if we can assure in terms of workload, um, if it's 70% of Jamie's job at this point in terms of curatorial work at the hearth, if there's some way that the hearth, they used to have a visual arts committee, and if there was some way that they could help organize somebody to look after that long wall, and some way so that it's not necessarily recreation or council or I don't know, the CAO or I don't know who would pick it up, but I think that it is something that needs to be a little bit nebulous, so that it is a fantastic space, and if there were volunteers, maybe another visual arts committee for that hallway. And there's all sorts of stuff that's coming up in terms of private collections and all of that is, monstrous amount of work. And I know that the health center is feeling, and Jamie's involved with that, and it's all that just so much. But, I think that this is talking about the expertise in terms of curatorial is with the hearth, and the contacts with respect to all sorts of private collections or what could be done in that space is also connected to all the people that are supporters of the hearth. So somehow, I think that limiting it and being Jamie feeling secure in terms of not adding a huge, massive amount to her workload, but at the same time connecting it to the expertise that's in the hearth, figuring out, not necessarily Jamie, but some way of giving, I don't know if it's even called service, but the helping the community center with the best way of using that space. And I think it's going to evolve. But I think that we have to be a little bit careful about being too limiting. At this point, we want to try and explain that the hearth is a resource that is going to somehow or other, without doubling up or tripling Jamie's workload, figure out a way of helping. That was basically
Kim?
in terms of including all of those details.
Yeah, it's Kim here. Very good, Judy. I completely agree with you. I think at the core of the issue is with the Hearth Gallery, there's already a mandate for the space in the walls, but because this is a new facility and it's a new space, like in terms of for visual art, it hasn't the mandate for it hasn't been determined yet, and that's why I completely agree with at this point keeping it nebulous. And so the sort of the process would be, if it is us, like the joint management committee, to determine what the mandate for the space is, because it probably would be a broader mandate than the heart. Then it plays into what Judy's saying is keep it nebulous so that it doesn't immediately and assume that it falls on the role of the heart as the mandate for that space. And then we can think about what mandate is needed for that space, and then who is going to ensure that that mandate is carried out. Because by making the hearth the one that is responsible for that space, it then carries the mandate of the hearth, right? Because it's a new space. So the way around that might be just to keep it nebulous, saying we're not putting it in yet till the joint management committee figures out what the mandate for the space is. And we don't need to figure that out right this minute, if that's helpful.
So does it help with me just deleting these specific tasks and just having it be like in the curation?
Doesn't the word curation exactly say that? Like that's nebulous in and of itself, isn't it?
In a good way or bad way? I
It's in
mean,
a good way.
so to leave this, okay, so I'm gonna get rid of that pink. So that I was thinking that expertise of the hearth could be staff or volunteer. Instrumental in the curation of the space. And
Is
just get
that-
rid of all this detail and
Yeah.
specificity.
I think it's limiting in terms of saying it's small gallery space. And I understand Jamie's concern, but
Well, I think that
I
there's
can't
like,
remember what was originally in there.
I think the
Yeah,
fact that
sorry.
they're saying that we're kind of making the decision that that wall space falls under the mandate of the hearth. And I thought what you brought up, Judy, which was really good, is that that wall space might be interesting to have a broader mandate because it's in the community center. And so then would it be that it would be run past the hearth, or is it like, or do we want to, as the joint management committee at this point, go, we're going to say, at this point, we're going to figure out what that is. But right now, as we're looking at it, there is no mandate for that space, right? So we
Yeah.
don't have anybody curating it, and this agreement isn't about that space yet.
So I like the way this is worded better in terms of taking out the small, so that it's even if we just get the opinion of the hearth, and because there was a brief conversation that we had at one point in terms of Jamie explaining that all of the stuff that had been um, donated to the arts or to the health center, that it was very complicated in terms of stuff that needed to be repaired and stuff that hadn't been framed, and stuff that there were varying opinions in terms of people that were looking at it and what the value of it might be, and that it was quite a complicated, difficult process. So getting the opinions and the expertise of the hearth in terms of the next step, how do we deal with all of the space that we've got that's perfect for art display, but we're not there yet. We haven't talked about it. And if that's going to be one of our concerns, or we don't even know who's going to be talking about it and figuring it out, whether that's, I'm hearing from the heart that they don't want it dumped on them. Fine. But at the same time, they've got a lot of expertise and experience doing it. So we need their help, whoever gets to do all of this. And I think the long list of all the things involved helps the council understand that there's a lot of work to be done. So if we limit it, I'm a little bit worried at this stage in terms of we haven't figured out a lot of the details in terms of who's going to do it and whether this new person can, or there's going to be more volunteer organizing or whatever. But I think that at this point it's important for the council to understand that that's a great long list that we've created, and it's all, if we leave this for 2 or 3 years, that long wall, while we get it sorted out with people saying, gosh, it's such a beautiful space, wouldn't it be nice if, that would, help us sort it out. But so I think this, if as long as the understanding of this group is that we're not just dumping all of this on the hearth, that's not something that they've got capacity for.
Right. That's
So-
very good, Judy. I would just one other thing I'd add, it's Kim again, is that it is really in us working out the relationship between like the joint management committee. Our role is figuring out the relationship between the hearth and the municipality in terms of what who's paying for what, but also where resources needing to go. And so we've already doing what Judy suggested, is working and asking the opinion of the hearth, which we got from Jamie, saying it's a really big project. And now we need to look at how that's going to work. So I think it's right, Judy, that somehow that's captured in this document and that we're not just dumping it on the hearth. But I just don't know how to adjust that text to reflect that. Do you know what I mean? That it's
Yep.
we're trying to figure out how to capture that.
Okay, so Steph has
Great.
just put up the corridor display and the gallery display. And that's the pink on the far right, is that it's unfulfilled.
Julian had her hand up, Fraser.
Sorry, who did? I didn't see anything.
Julian.
Why not?
Oh, it's
Um,
not popping up.
I feel that Jamie has told us she's interested in that gallery display space and managing that, and I'd like to respect that interest of hers. I don't feel that it would be appropriate, or are we looking to right now dump anything on her that's not been already expressed as something that would be something that the Hearth could and would like to do, as far as I understand. And I hope I'm not
Well, it's in
speaking
this
out of turn.
spreadsheet, right?
Right, so
We've already voted on this spreadsheet last meeting.
Yeah,
the
so I
committee.
don't really want to change what's in this spreadsheet. So if the document is highlighting that gallery space, and maybe a way of wording it would be something that's adding something like with an initial focus on the small gallery space adjacent to the theater, or like if we felt a need to define it more closely, and while also sort of leaving it open as to what will be the focus and curatorial process with the other larger space.
Well, so if this spreadsheet says manage all aspects of temporary visual art displays in the gallery area, and that's been identified at the Hearth, and the committee has voted on that, can we just use this exact language to be consistent? Sorry for jumping in.
We've got Gail asking a question here.
All right.
Before I ask my question, Steph, would you repeat that that proposal? Because it might have answered it.
Yeah, so if it says that the Hearth has agreed and you guys voted on this that this document was something you stood behind, manage all aspects of temporary visual art displays in the gallery area. Can we just use this exact language in the report so it's consistent?
I
Now
think it's a really good idea, actually, Steph.
Can you scroll down so you've got that line?
It's right, you can't see it, it's in the middle of the screen.
Sorry, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, it's the Hearth up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So line 16. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. And then line 15 was still sort of uncertain. That's the main corridor. Sorry, Gail.
Oh, no, thank you for saying that. So I just want to say that when I first read this, I felt it was a little bit confusing how far we were moving into the visual arts, the detailing of those various responsibilities, since what we were focusing on was the performing arts component in this job request, the staffing request. And so I see that, in my opinion, the less detail we put, the better in terms of how we support the council's argument, helping the council see the essentialness of funding the position. I don't think we should be adding a lot of detail about the visual arts. I wasn't even going to say that, but I don't see a strong benefit to adding as much detail. And we cover the problem of, I like Steph's proposal, only put in what was agreed on when we agreed on that spreadsheet.
So can you guys see that here? Manage all aspects of temporary visual art displays in gallery area. Julian, are you comfortable with that?
I do. I like the expertise of the Hearth will be instrumental in the curation of. I think that's important language to have in here.
Okay.
And just weave that into that. So where you start with the blue including, we're going to go
Or
back
say-
up to.
Oh, not how about, okay. Sorry. So here we have the expertise of the Hearth will be instrumental in curation of the small gallery space, not to be confused with the main hallway, and will manage all aspects of temporary visual art in that
Slightly
area.
repetitive, but we'll get there if we take that. I agree with what Gail's saying about not having all the details. It's not necessary for what we're doing here.
Okay, so we'll get rid of this.
The first section of blue.
All the blue, bye-bye. Okay. And then the expertise hours will get curation of the gallery space, and that's what we originally had. And then Jamie's saying the
Small
gallery space adjacent to the theater. Not, are you guys okay with leaving that Jamie suggestion there?
So what if we say the expertise of the hearth will be instrumental in the curation of the gallery space at the hearth and will manage all
At the
aspects of
hearth or
temporary
at the
at the
BICC?
BICC and
Mhm.
will manage all aspects of temporary visual art displays in the small gallery area adjacent to the theater.
Okay. Oh my, in the small gallery area adjacent.
I mean, it's long, but that's okay.
Adjacent, sorry. Okay. Who will manage? Who? So
No,
expertise doesn't
and
manage?
will manage.
That makes expertise the subject of a verb.
Okay.
Let's not wordsmith in the middle of a meeting.
Okay.
Oh, I think we want to leave here though, being like, good to go, boom.
Yeah. Next, which is the hearth will be instrumental. In the curation and management. Maybe this can happen offline, actually. But so these are the two. Maybe Juliana, you can just work on the grammar of that after this meeting and send it out by email. Or
I need to, okay.
okay.
Yeah, as a reminder, this is the background part, not the motion that we're actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we get rid of everything else?
Yes. I think that's fine.
Is the expertise of the hearth the way, if we say and will manage, it is, it is potentially volunteers, it is potentially staff that are the
Is the hearth
expertise.
staff and volunteers?
Yes.
So say including staff and volunteers.
I don't think we
And-
want to get this specific. I really
Yeah,
think that's
okay.
going in the wrong direction. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
To the next yellow.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, next one. Gail, do you want to take this one for us?
Sure. It should say it was just that the fundraising committee isn't really going to be the one submitting grants for arts and culture. It was going to be the PAC overseeing that. So all I did was take that line and move it down to the Performing Arts Committee. And so the current way it reads is the Hearth's many volunteers and its robust client that right. Okay. The Hearth's fundraising committee is committed to introducing and implementing new fundraising campaigns to support ongoing development of the performing and production coordinator position. And it should say, and other Hearth activities would read better. Yeah.
And other?
Yes, please. I didn't include
Okay.
that. Thank you.
That's uncontroversial.
Thank you. And then the next part, so then the Hearts Performing Arts Committee is committed to supporting the work of the programming and production coordinator by assisting in the production and presentation of largely off-island presentations, as well as, and you could, I think it's the same sentence, as
Mhm.
well as researching, applying for, and building on local and off-island grant funding for arts and culture. If we wanted to make that a separate sentence, I'm not adverse. All I did though was take it as a clause from one of Judy's sentences and moved it down to the proper agent doing it, the work.
Yeah, I think that's uncontroversial.
My only question is there another entity on island other than the BIM that has a granting program? Just because it says local and off-island grant funding.
I think she might have been referring to the Community Foundation, the Bowen Island.
Gotcha.
Community.
Thank you. That clarifies it for me.
You ready to move on there or?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then yellow here. Jillian, want to speak to those?
Yeah, that was me. It was at 13,000, but my understanding is that it was supposed to be 10, so I just changed it from 10 to 13 because this is from 13 to 10 because this is specifically about the production and programming coordinator. And then I balance that out with mentioning the 3,000 a little bit farther down and specifically about the marketing specialist there. And it's also written somewhere else, I believe, in there.
Okay,
Yep.
anybody against that? Thumbs up from Kim, wobbly thumb.
Good.
Ooh, many
Gail has a
thumbs.
question.
Sorry.
Gail, you have your hand up.
You know, I'm I'm of two minds, and I just want to put it out, and I really respect whichever way we go on this. But when we look at that spreadsheet and the list of things that Hearth staff are overseeing, it does come to 13,000 because the task list for the marketing specialist is included in our spreadsheet. And I just wonder if this is being lost a little bit by only really coming in at that very last page, because we've taken that out of the whereas at the beginning for good reason. And then we're taking it out here where it felt like a stronger contribution. And I leave it to others to decide, but I'm just reflecting what I'm hearing.
Where on the spreadsheet?
The marketing specialist, we increase the size of the marketing specialist position to incorporate those two areas. And I wonder if that's actually I hope it's being captured in a compelling way. That's all I'm saying.
So if the question comes up, is the only amount that they're contributing financially is the 10, then on page 3, it's under production and programming coordinator, and that's specific. And then page 4, other considerations. So there's the spreadsheet with all the tasks, and there's all of the financial considerations in terms of contracts instead of staff position. And then I like this line here in terms of the Hearth is adding an extra, and maybe we should say that it's additional fundraising, but somehow or other it's you're increasing the Hearth is increasing an operating budget to add hours to the marketing specialist to deal with these big productions. I think that little paragraph is fine, and it's in the right place. It couldn't be under programming and production, and the same with the whereas conditions, because we're only asking for funding for that one.
Then great. Sounds great. Thank you.
And it is also mentioned just below where we were talking about the curation of the gallery space. As the Hearth marketing specialist has been expanded to include an additional 2 hours a week dedicated to promoting the Bowen Theatre.
Wonderful.
So it's in 2 spots,
Yeah.
and we can definitely speak to it when we present the report.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And the whole thing is based on this is startup. And so if there's more fundraising and there's more sponsorship and there's more grants, then, this is going to change. But at this point, we're talking about seed money and making it so that hopefully they understand that it's necessary and that it's, really in the scheme of things, it's relatively all the things we're being asked for. It is more money, but it's $8,000. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a stumbling block or not, but I think we've done this is our best shot.
Okay, bye-bye yellow.
Yellow.
Bye-bye, okay.
Under production, leave the 10,000 and at the 3,000 annually at the bottom of that section under other.
Mhm.
I think those will stay.
Okay, I think that's it. That's it.
And then the three attachments that go with it is that spreadsheet, the Performing Arts Committee description, and the budget worksheet about the grants, the community grants.
Good.
Another question, Gail?
I do think that the wording, the expertise of the hearth, make it valid to use the conjunction and, because the expertise of the hearth can manage the second of that compound sentence.
Okay,
I don't see a problem with that because the expertise of the hearth is the noun and manage is the verb.
okay,
So using an and feels more appropriate in that I think the way it reads makes more sense.
okay.
Yeah, instead of the who.
Mhm.
Okay. Steph, what are our next steps?
Okay, so there was a proposed draft recommendation in the agenda cover sheet, but I think for our purposes right now, we can do it from here. So the first recommendation is the one I've highlighted regarding the program and production coordinator. Does someone want to read it out and call for a mover seconder?
I can read it out if you like. Whereas
We need it read
Oh,
out. Can
sorry,
we just
no.
say as printed?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I move that we adopt this recommendation as written.
Okay. The seconder? Is it?
I'll second. Oh, I don't think I should. I'm voting.
Okay.
Right.
Mimi?
Mimi, do you want to? Thank you, Mimi.
What's your last name? Okay.
Okay.
Any discussion? Want to call the question, Fraser?
Call the
Oh.
question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, abstinence to vote in the positive, so I'm getting that from Gail. Then this
Yes.
hugely controversial one. Let's move that. Booking coordinator.
Okay, next one.
Do you want to move that one, Jillian?
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll move that one.
Thank you, Jillian. Anyone second?
Nope, no one wants a booking coordinator.
What? What is going on here?
Oh, Mimi wants a booking
Mimi did.
coordinator.
Mimi did. Mimi is seconded. Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
My thumbs up.
Everybody. Oh, nice work, Kim.
Good job.
How'd you do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is it for our recommendations. Moving on. New business. Any other business?
I'm sorry, guys. I've got to run.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Okay.
And then on to question. Oh, sorry.
I don't think we've got any more business tonight, but I want us to put on the agenda for the next time, whenever that is. We need to start having discussions about what the opening is going to be and when, and what's going on with calendar. To get rid of any kinds of to get that sorted.
Right.
But
May I have
not
a question
tonight.
around that, Judy? Not tonight, Judy, but the last meetings we had when Liam was around, I was told that there was another committee that was doing the opening and that it really wasn't in our purview. And then what I remember was that I can't remember how we ended that, whether we were working with them or we were waiting a report from them. But
That's
maybe
why I
we
think
could just clarify
good to
that
have
and
it
put
on
that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll help. And I
Thank you.
think the calendar stuff is also really good too, because we're getting ready for that. And Jillian, you put a lot of work into thinking about how that was going to work. And that might be two things just for the next meeting to get a report on so that we can then start working on it.
I don't know if I have a report to provide about the
No,
calendar.
exactly. Not the calendar,
mean,
but just
let's just start talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay,
like,
careful. I feel some directing staff happening amongst
Yes,
our
we have to be careful on that.
dedicated
Remember?
yeah.
volunteers. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, just where we ended up. I can't remember where we ended. That's all I was saying.
So
Well, the
I don't
booking
know
date-
that the launch party falls within the terms of reference of this committee, which would have been Liam's point. I'm looking at the terms of reference now.
Okay,
But
the launch-
let's have it on the agenda for some sort of a discussion, whether or not we've got the jurisdiction or not. I think that it's something that has come up and it's an issue. So if we can just build the agenda without deciding it tonight.
Okay, do we want to book that next meeting tonight, or do we do that via email?
A lot easier for Steph if we just do it right now. There's no doodle polling everybody, so.
what do you guys on Mondays, or was it Mondays or Wednesdays?
Mondays can work for me.
Mondays
We're
are
often
nice.
Tuesdays, actually, I
Thank
think,
you.
more so, yeah.
Tuesdays?
Mondays
So-
are hard with council meetings.
Perfect.
Alright.
Right. I forgot about that. Tuesdays can work for me as long as they're at like after 4 o'clock.
I just couldn't do next Tuesday, but otherwise it should be fine.
So Tuesday, March 11th at what are we on? 4 o'clock? 4:30?
4:45.
That's
4:45
That's
for
right, that
Gail.
was Gail's, right.
That's the tech rehearsal for the Tempest.
No, sorry,
Ooh.
we're talking March 11th, so that's past.
Oh.
Next Tuesday is
Alright.
tech rehearsal for the Tempest.
March. I'm in Nanaimo for Trust Council. I could probably do Zoom
What if we did the 25th
of what
of
month?
February?
Of February?
Yeah, 2 weeks out.
I'm
I'm going to be in tech that day myself. I have a show that opens on the 27th. So I'll be in lighting levels.
sorry, Ted. Steph, can we do a doodle poll, please?
March
Yeah.
4th? March 4th?
March 4th is good for me.
I'll be
That's-
away. I think we need to do a doodle poll.
Let's do a doodle poll. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh,
It's
we
okay,
tried. We
no
tried our
worries.
best.
Yeah. Three times try and then go to the deep
And
background.
sorry, Gail, I know you're trying to leave, but just thinking about presenting this report to council on February 24th, if we could just identify who's doing that. I think I have to be one of them, I think. But perhaps a Hearth representative would be a good partnership to go in with.
Yes, I've allotted from 1 until 3 on February 24th, and I hope that would be sufficient time if you would like me to be one of the presenters.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Thank you, Gail.
Lenny.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I will pop these revised agenda minutes around tomorrow and get it to the council agenda. And then it's the 24th showtime. Thank you very much.
All right.
You're on mute, Fraser. Fraser.
You're muted.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's
I don't
asking
think we
for
have
motion
anybody
to
here for-
adjourn.
Yes,
No.
that you saw my I moved to adjourn.
Ah,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
bye. We
Thanks,
did
Bye,
it.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.